Hello and welcome to MCC TV International Show. My name is Dabeet. I'm the Business Department Coordinator and also teach Economics and Statistics here, but also I'm the host for this show. Today's show going to be about Muscatine sister city, and I do have great people with me today. Dan Clark and Linda Meloy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, and I'm glad to have you with us today. But before really we start talking about Muscatine sister city and also the International Friendship Park, which will be the topic for the show, I would like to remind everybody where the Muscatine sister city's mission. Muscatine sister city's mission is to offer the people of Muscatine and of similar cities in other nations opportunities to get acquainted, to understand one another as individuals, as members of their community, as citizens of their country, and as part of the family of nations. With that, I would like to welcome you again, and I would like to ask Dan Clark to give us some sort of an idea or historical background about Muscatine sister city. When did it start? Some of the people who started this organization all the way till almost now.
Oh, thank you, John. Well, I was a youngster, 1986. Founders, and I get in trouble if I start trying to name all the names, but the founders I want to mention for sure would be Ralph Jackson, Marlon Sheepers, a couple of engineers from the Stanley Consultants firm. You know, the idea was that Muscatine's connected to the world, so here are people who've worked abroad and had those experiences. Del White was the Chamber of Commerce executive who did a lot to actually get the organization created and up and running. Catherine Miller was a foreign language teacher who served Muscatine, who had a profound influence on this community in terms of encouraging international awareness and cross-cultural understanding. She was one of those. Coca Page was an elementary school teacher and principal from here in Muscatine, whose family background was in Argentina. Well, like I say, I get in trouble when I start naming all these names. But 1986 was the year, and from the very beginning, there was an idea that we wanted to connect Muscatine not just with popular travel destinations abroad, but with places that would really knit the world together in friendship. Places that was during the Cold War. From the start, we had some of those people saying, "You suppose we could have a sister city in the Soviet Union, in China?" You know, those places that were seen as enemy territory.
Yeah, and Linda, you get involved also at early,
Yes.
Also time with Sister City. Tell us about your experience, please.
Well, I became involved about 25 years ago, hosting guests that came from our first sister city, which was in Stavropol, Kislovodsk, Stavropol, Russia. And that was just a very expanding experience for my husband at the time, David Meloy, and our children, because we got to have individuals who brought pictures of their family and talked about their family issues and into our home and shared. I've also had the opportunity to host people from our sister city in the Ukraine. In fact, some really dynamic folk and artists that came and stayed with us. Again, expanding our awareness of their country and their culture. Had a delightful time with a firefighter from our sister city in Germany who stayed with us in a more modern a scenario when he brings his iPad, because it's closer in time to now, and we're able to Skype and see his little boy back in Germany and learn about their culture. Have also had students live with us from Japan, some who ended up coming and being permanent residents of Muscatine and then other parts of the world. So it's just been a very enriching opportunity for me and my family, particularly my children, to meet and learn about people from other countries. And then we've also been able to host individuals that came from under other programs, just because Muscatine Sister Cities is known for our welcoming atmosphere for people in any program that wants to come and learn about our country and our culture.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Well, beside gaining what I would call an eternal friendship with people all over the world, I mean, which I think you cannot put even a value on something like that. But beside that, what else do you really enjoy about being part of Sister City? You know, Linda, you mentioned a little bit about hosting. You know, it's great education experience for your kids. What else can we add to that?
John, I would quickly add friendship among those of us in Muscatine who do this year in and year out. We've made a lot of neat friends in the community, and we have those people with us every day.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Not least, let's mention, you know, as this has unfolded, I mentioned Soviet Union, Argentina. As we have added another country or another city, it's been another set of people who had special friendships or family relationships, business relationships in those places. And so we've got to know another circle of friends each time. And I want to say, not least, John Dabeet came to town and campaigned 10 years for us to recognize a relationship with your hometown in Palestine.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, with that also, what I would like to talk about now, Muscatine Sister City has been in Muscatine since 1986. I mean, over 25 years now. So how do you envision Muscatine Sister City in the next 10 years? Like anything that you would like to see the organization doing that they are not doing now? Certain cities that you perhaps think that we need to have as a sister city? I mean, what do you think?
Well, technology is a great asset in the world today. And I have done work, for example, in Nigeria and other places in Africa. And I think that Africa is a place that we need to be expanding our not only awareness of what is really happening in their countries and their strengths, but also in relationship building from an educational as well as a cultural and a friendship standpoint. Using Nigeria as an example, we hear in the media about Boko Haram and other things going on in that country that are frightening to Americans, even this recent Ebola crisis. Well, in reality, the areas that I've been to in Nigeria aren't anything like that. The people are incredibly welcoming. They are very fun. They're very well educated. They're working very hard to bring their country up to the 21st century, as are a number of countries in Africa. So Africa is just one example where we could not only build friendships with people, but we could assist in the age of technology in helping these countries better their education, better their images that they project around the world. So I see that there are a number of places around the world that we could actually help increase awareness, expansion of opportunities for people.
You know, I would be interested, and I'm sure our audience would be interested to know, what was the first country you visited, Linda and Dan?
The first country that I visited outside of the United
in sister cities.
Sister cities or
It
outside?
could be sister city or outside sister city.
First country I visited.
Canada, does that count?
Well, it does, you know.
I would have to say it was Lithuania.
Oh, okay.
Because I went to Lithuania in 1999 and 2000 in the summers to present information on the latest research on dealing with children in educational settings, and that was soon after Lithuania became an independent country from the Soviet Union. And those were just summer experiences, but the people were so welcoming. They were so eager to know Americans and learn about what we knew in the world, particularly in Lithuania. They had not had opportunities for the latest information about education. And despite incredible low income, these people were so welcoming for our information. so welcoming to be friends and learn from us. They wanted to know what it was like to live in a democracy, which was part of our job in this organization I went with, was to teach them about democratic principles in the classroom, like that they could vote, decide what we were going to do next on the agenda, and they just thought that was like the strangest thing they'd ever heard of. Or the use of humor in the classroom, because that had never been anything in their culture that they had had before, and all kinds of questions about dealing with children and families that we use normally and routinely in our country that they didn't know anything about. So I just thought it was a wonderfully expanding experience for me, and then to bring back to my students at the university and share that with them.
Excellent, excellent. You know, if we go back to the International Friendship Park in Muscatine, well, can you tell us, because I know both of you are well involved with this project as a Muscatine Sister City
Linda's
project.
the leader.
And can you tell us, how did you come up with this idea? And once you had the idea, if you take us through the whole process all the way till now, where do we stand with this project, with the park?
Can we start with flags on the riverfront?
Yeah, that would
Because
be it.
I think that's really where it is. And when Dick O'Brien was the mayor, you know, there was a stand of flagpoles at the bottom of, what is it, Sycamore Street?
I think it was.
on the Muscatine riverfront on Mississippi Drive. And at one time, there were flags of the states that were up and down the Mississippi River, and I'm not sure what all flags. Some of them I thought were nonsense flags, to be frank. But Mayor Dick O'Brien said, as we were collecting these sister cities, and he was deeply involved in our activity, and I believe he's the one who suggested, but in any case, he was the mayor. The city put up the flags from our various sister city countries there on the riverfront and maintained them for a number of years. Then over time there were problems, and John, I think you were the president, so maybe you understand that better than I do, why we didn't continue that.
Yeah, my understanding is that I think some of them got really bad because of the wind.
They weathered,
and the weather and so on, so that's why we couldn't continue
and they
having
didn't,
that.
with the changing and evolving plans for our riverfront, they didn't want those poles there anymore, and so that was
Somehow our flagpoles weren't front and center
they
anymore.
they weren't in the plan, and so we had to come up with some other way to capitalize and promote and let the community know about sister cities. And I'm not exactly sure how it all evolved, but it certainly was helped by the fact that the family of Ralph Jackson, who passed a little over a year ago, one of our founders of Sister Cities, they gave a very generous donation to us in order to establish some kind of a permanent recognition for Sister Cities in the community. And that's kind of when you got involved, John, talking to City Council.
It helped us move beyond saying, well, we should do something instead of those flags.
Right. And you began some discussions with the city administrator and the mayor about what some possibilities would be, and we threw a bunch of ideas around. And then Dan, you found that really lovely rendition in Phoenix of a pole where they
Sister Cities International, which we belong to, headquartered in Virginia, keeps track of all these relationships around the world, and there's a registry because these are official, formalized relationships on a city-to-city basis. And something they have on their website is a feature that shows the various parks, memorials, monuments that cities do around the world to celebrate their sister city relationships. There's wonderful public art, flag displays, and so on in cities around the world. And I think maybe it was before we had that little meeting in City Hall with our city administrator?
Possibly.
Maybe.
Yes.
Well, and
I just got online and started flipping through those pictures, and we had been saying we need to start in a modest way with this Jackson gift and maybe do something better, bigger, more expensive later. And it struck me that a number of cities had a simple pole with directional signs like you might see in a European village so many kilometers to this and this and this place. And I brought a sample from Phoenix, Arizona, showing how they did to the meeting, and everybody kind of said, yeah, we could start that way.
Well, and also, John, you had brought how they do it in Ramallah, where they have this beautiful park and they have these exquisitely designed, looks like they're lighted signage with recognition on each of the signs, tablets or something like that, along a walkway in a park, which was a little bit a beautiful display, but a little bit beyond our budget at the time.
Yeah.
Good idea. But so that we had to combine the reality of what we had available to us, and with starting in a good place to start. And then when we talked to the city administrator about where we would put this pole, if that's what we were going to go with, well, he just said, well, why don't you create a little pocket park? That's what he calls them. And we went, well, what do you mean? And
I went to that meeting prepared to fight for the riverfront.
Yes, right.
We have to stay on the riverfront.
Or we have to put it in the middle, in City Hall, and right there, and where it's Catherine's historical tree is and everything. And Greg Monsanger says, well, we've got that vacant lot at 8th and Cedar Street, which cannot be built on because of the Mad Creek sewer thing that goes underneath it. And we've planted 3 trees there.
Papoose Creek.
Or, excuse me, Papoose Creek. Papoose Creek. He said, why don't you just build yourself a little park there? And we all go.
And that's how it started.
And that's how it started. It was like, oh, we could just build a little park, right?
Said, look, it's in the middle of things. The city already owns it. We have to mow the grass anyway.
So why don't you just, and we go, well, okay. And that's sort of how it all started.
Yeah. And I see, as I'm talking with you, Linda, I see like you're carrying some signs here.
Yes.
If you can give, and we do have some pictures, but let's start with the signs that you have.
Well, we worked with Sign Pro here in town to design something like the Phoenix sign.
Probably better.
Well, we would hope. And so at this point in time, I believe next week they're going to get it. The pole's already there. I have to just tell you, I don't know how other communities are, but we have the most wonderful cooperation here in Muscatine, because MPW, our Muscatine Power and Water, they found a pole and they said, yeah, you can have this pole. The city painted it. MPW comes and puts it in the ground for us, and no charge to us.
And to add to that, Linda, is many thanks to Sal Bianco,
and MPW.
Bianco, yeah.
Yes.
President, CEO for Muscatine Power and Water, for donating that, and for the city also for working with Sister City and donating the lot, the area. I mean,
and the people, the
and
Park and Rec people that work under Randy Hill. I mean, whenever we needed to make sure that we weren't in utility areas and things like that, and the city staff came, and they've just been incredibly helpful. In fact, our concept of this Friendship Park has gone beyond having this. How tall is it? 30-foot tall pole?
I asked
can't
John
remember
Fox
how
the other day,
tall
and
it is.
we don't know exactly.
It's pretty tall, but this is going to be way at the top.
About 26, 28 feet.
This will be at the top. On both sides, there'll be a metal sign that identifies this sister cities. And then we have 7 current active sister cities. And then there will be directional signs, metal directional signs. These are just as an example, that they will be 5 of them pointing east, because 5 of our sister cities are in the east, and 2 of them will be pointing to the west. And they'll have the flag. This happens to be Zhending, the flag of our sister country, and then the name of the sister city will be on it. And hopefully they will be. And at the base of the pole, then. Dan and I planted daffodils that'll come up in the spring.
As you are talking about that, I know that Chad, our producer, has some pictures.
Does he?
So he's
going to roll those.
Probably will roll some. Here is the first picture. So if we start talking about that.
Is this what our viewers see right now, John?
Yeah. This is what these are the MPW guys putting in the pole in the middle of the lot at the corner of 8th and Cedar. And that also then, with Dan's expert ability to remove sod.
And we see Linda here digging.
I
we're getting the sod ready around it so that in the spring there'll be some flowers that come up. But we've been very fortunate that there's a young boy by the name of Brady Chambers who needs to do an Eagle Scout project, and so he and his colleagues and his scout troop and other scout troops are putting together what they're going to do in the spring to add to the plantings around the pole, but also as a master gardener, I've put together a sketch of what we can do to make the whole entire lot there look more like a park. Here we are. This is John Fox from Sign Pro that's up, and he's holding up so we can get the height of where the signage is going to be on the pole. And in the back behind where John is, there will be a berm. Mike Keller from Keller & Keller has agreed to donate his time to build a berm in the back. And then in front of John, actually at the corner where the sidewalks of 8th and Cedar Street meet, right now there's snow route signs there, which will be removed during spring, summer, and fall. But there's going to be we picked out a large granite or sandstone, I don't know what it is, Dan. We picked out this great big rock that's going to sit at the corner, and it's going to say International Friendship Park, and then there will be plantings around that.
And that'll be installed real soon, I think.
Well, he's going to put the rock in, and then we'll put the plantings. So there's John. He's showing there's Rehoboth and Ramallah signage, kind of how it will look on the pole. The city has donated a whole lot of Purrington bricks, and part of the Eagle Scout project with the boys will be to put a little winding walk through part of the park. And we will be asking for donations for some native plants and things to just turn it into a really pretty setting. We might, there's kind of like it's not going to look just like that because it's going to be a little bit different. But that kind of gives the viewer an idea what the arrows look like. But they're not going to all point that way.
mock-up of
That's
the
a mock-up.
signs.
They're not going to all point up that way.
Yeah.
And Dan and I will be there the day they put up the sign so that we can say, tweak it this way or tweak it that way or whatever. We may.
I always laugh when you say they're going to point east because, of course, we get on airplanes and go any direction at all to go around this planet.
Yeah, to get to a country. And we also are hoping, and we've had people say that they're interested in dedicating a bench and maybe having maybe up to 4 benches in our park where people could go there and sit and enjoy the beauty of it. But hopefully it will be a great improvement over a blank lot with just 3 trees that the city planted there, and that it will be a permanent way to recognize our sister cities.
And any idea about when we have the official opening for this park? And it will be, I assume, it will be the newest park in Muscatine.
It would.
When we.
And the mayor wants to have a dedication inviting not only the family of the Jacksons who started the fund, but all of the people who will have donated time and materials. Dependent upon the weather, we hope to be able to have it completed in late April to early May, so that then whenever the mayor would like to have a formal dedication,
Completed
then we would.
means phase 1.
Well, no, that would be all of it.
All.
Well, as much as we can pay for at this particular park,
Yeah.
which would be the plantings and the walk and everything. Maybe not the benches.
Would you, and I'm just like thinking loud, but would we consider maybe inviting the ambassador or a counselor from each of our sister cities to that official opening?
We certainly could, John, if you wanted to delay it to a point where you could invite people, or maybe somebody would even be coming to the city.
And it will be nice because it's an official event, and it will be nice to have officials representing
If not
each
ambassador,
city.
someone from a consulate in Chicago or something.
Or a
like that.
consulate,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
I think it will be something Sister City needs most probably to think about and keep that in mind, because it's nice to have those representation from each of our sister cities.
Right now,
And we are a community with a history of this kind of thing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
this isn't. This is not a grand ambition when you say something like that. It's something that Muscatine can do.
right. And mostly, Dan and I are concentrating on now just the physical part of, getting the signage up, getting the rock in place, working with the people who are going to help construct the other parts of the park. And then, of course, I'm thinking as a master gardener, all that stuff we plant is going to have to be watered, Linda. And trying to build a really good relationship with the people that live on each side so that we can hook on and get some water to water those plants. And so, John, you think about that.
Yeah,
as president, I'm going to give, why don't you just think about all that little dedication stuff after we get everything planted.
Okay, thank you. I think both of you are doing a great job on behalf of Muscatine Sister City, putting together a great, well-needed park, I will say. Because the way I see the park is not just like a new addition to the city, but it's an educational park to our kids and the new generations. Because when they pass by this park, they're going to read the names of our sister cities. Right. They're going to see the flags of those sister cities. So this is by itself is a great educational experience for our new generations, kids, and so on. So what I would like to do is I would like to give each one of you around a minute to summarize whatever you would like to add, summarize or add anything that maybe perhaps we didn't talk about the work of Sister City, about the International Friendship Park, whatever you would like to say.
Let me say something very quickly. We didn't rehearse this. We hadn't discussed it. But when you asked about 10 years out, I was ready to say Africa also.
Oh, really?
Muscatine has
kindred spirits.
And I've traveled there
You
too.
too.
So it is a friendly place.
Yes.
Where in the world do you not find friendly people? I wanted to say I've been active for many years with the project to establish Alexander Clark's house as a National Historic Monument. Alexander Clark, the black man from Muscatine who ended up as the United States ambassador to Liberia at the end of the 19th century. That was Muscatine's first contact with Liberia. But in the 1950s, I mentioned Stanley Consultants engineering firm. The very first international work Stanley Consultants did was in Liberia. And then in more recent years, we have really going back to the Stanley Consultants work and one family with that Stanley Consultants connection, we've had Liberian immigration to the extent that we have many hundreds, I don't know how many, Liberian immigrants in our community. And I know Calvary Church has a mission project in Liberia, and so I just keep thinking Africa and maybe Liberia, maybe West Africa.
Makes sense.
That would be great. That would be great.
Somebody has to do the work, and I didn't raise my hand.
Okay, my closing remarks. I would hope that as an organization, we can move toward involving more young people in our group. Because in order for not only it to continue when we no longer are here to do that, but also it's their viewpoints, their skills, their interests are very important to the vitality of an organization. So I would hope that John and other people on the board that we would continue to get more Muscatine young people in their 20s and 30s involved in our organization to increase the vitality of it.
Well, thanks to both of you. It was an honor. It was an honor to have both of you on this show to at least give some sort of an update to our viewers about Muscatine Sister City organization. It's a great organization to be part of it. And also specifically about the park that I think a lot of people, I'm hearing from a lot of people that they are looking forward to the official opening of this park. If you have any question and or comments, as usual, please call me at 563-288-6064, or you can email me at jdabeet@eicc.edu. Till next time, Muscatine, bye-bye.